to record this webinar, and hopefully that will work. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Stephen Hale, who is your presenter for this afternoon's TIMS webinar. Stephen, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks, Victoria. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so like Victoria said, this is the TIMS webinar. My name is Steve Hale. I'm with the Office of Tech Services here at ODOT. I do a lot of work with TIMS, a lot of database development and day-to-day maintenance. So if you ever have any questions or concerns when you're using the application, those questions are likely going to come to me. So feel free to reach out and let me know if you have anything after this webinar. So the first thing that I want to do is show you how to get to TIMS. So this is the TIMS homepage here, and here's the URL. So if you do find this tool useful, I would recommend maybe bookmarking this for future reference. But you can also, from the Google page, you can just Google TIMS or ODOT TIMS. And it should be one of the first results here. Also, from the ODOT homepage, on the left-hand side of the screen here, if you scroll down just a little bit, there's a link to the TIMS application. All right, so this is the TIMS homepage. You can see right away that there's a message, a red message there. We are doing some database updates tomorrow in the afternoon around 4 p.m. So if you are using the application, just be aware that some of the data might not be available at that time. So from the homepage, you have a few different options here. I guess first of all, TIMS is our transportation information mapping system at ODOT, if you're not familiar with the tool. The idea behind TIMS is to organize and centralize a lot of our asset data into one central enterprise location. So instead of having to go to 5 or 6 different offices to get the information that you need, the idea is you could come to TIMS and view all the data in TIMS or download that for personal use, all from one central location. So with that said, from the TIMS application, there are a couple quick links that I want to show you just before we dive into the tools themselves. Down here at the bottom, there's a contact button. So this gives you an email address, and like I said, that email will come straight to me and my boss, and we'll try to answer your questions as quickly as we can. If you have any concerns about any of the data or just general questions of how to use the app, whatever it might be, feel free to go ahead and email this address whenever those come up. Also, there is a help link down here. This will take you to our user guide. So the user guide is currently a little out of date. We've made some application updates. The functionality should be pretty much the same in this user guide as what you're going to see today, but the look and feel is going to be slightly different. We are working to update this, and hopefully in the next month or so we will have an update to this user manual. All right, so I think I received a message. Is that from, oh, that's from Victoria, okay. If you have messages throughout this webinar, feel free to type them in the GoToMeeting box, and Victoria will relay that information and let me know that there is a question. If not, at the end of the webinar, we can open it up and I can hopefully answer some questions for you. Okay, so this is the TIMS homepage here. You have a few different buttons of different pages that'll give you a slightly different experience in the TIMS application. I'm just going to go through some of these, give you a quick high-level overview of how to use the tools and what's available in each one of these different tool sets here. So the first one I want to talk about is the project search page. So when you go to the project search page, what you're doing here is you're querying and filtering our Ellis database here at ODOT. And our Ellis database stores all of our project information statewide. So if there is a project within the state of Ohio that has committed federal funding, we're going to have that information here in the project search page. So the first thing you'll notice from the project search page is you have a few different query options up top, and then you have a results table that shows the actual results. I have a query already built, So when you do build queries in the project search page, when you come back to the project search page, those queries are going to persist for you.
Hey, Stephen, sorry
All
to
right,
interrupt.
so I went ahead and, I'm sorry?
This is Victoria real quick. I just wanted to remind everybody who's joined us since we started to please mute your phone line. It's really important so that way we cut down on background noise while Stephen's presenting. We appreciate it. Sorry about that. Thanks.
That's right. So the project search page, the first thing that you want to do when you come into the project search page is you can start to build your query based on the district or county that you're interested in getting information for. Also, if you know the project ID or PID number, you can type that right in and go directly to that project too. But I don't know a PID, so I'm just going to start filtering. And you can see as I start to build a filter, my results table down here at the bottom of the page changes dynamically as that filter is being built. Also, with a lot of these filter tools in TIMS, you can just start typing, and it'll return the text dynamically of what you typed. So it'll make it a lot easier to quickly filter that data. So now after just applying a couple filters, I've gone down from 53,000 records to just 130 here. You can add a fiscal or calendar year filter as well, and you can even filter by the primary work category. So once you have a filter built, you can come down here to your results table, and there's a magnifying glass on the left-hand side of all these records. You can click on these records and view some more information and details about those projects. So you can see some general overview information. Where is this project occurring? What type of project is it? Who's the project manager? What type of funds are being used for this project? What was the estimated amount? And then you can come down even further, and there is a link to the project plans URL. And it looks like this particular project does not have any plans associated with it. Let me find one that does. All right, it's taking a second to load. That's nice for a webinar. But if that particular project did have plans associated with it, let me find one that does real quick for you. When you click that hyperlink, it'll take you to this external website from the Office of Contracts. And I'm striking out again today. But what it'll do is it'll show you here in the digital paper and website here, and you'll be able to click on some PDFs and view the actual project plans here in this this external site. Unfortunately, I didn't find a good one for you. But anyway, I'm not going to let that hold me up. All right, so if I click this View and Map button, this will take me to the Create a Map page, and then it'll show me that project record on the map. So I can zoom out and see exactly where that project is occurring on the map. If I want a little more information that is not being shown on the project information page, I can click this View and Ellis button, and this will take me to another external site and show me just a little more information about that particular project. Now back from the transportation project search page, if I find a few different projects that I want to view on the map, for instance, this particular PID has multiple work locations associated with it. I can click on multiple records here and then click View and Map, and that'll view all of those project records in the map at the same time. So here are highlighted in blue all those project locations that I just clicked on. Now say I don't want to view the data in the map, I don't need to see it, but I do want to download it and use it in Excel or maybe some other form on my personal machine. I can also select all these, and then right next to the View and Map button, there's an Export Data button. You can export to Excel, KMZ, shapefile, or a geodatabase if you are a GIS user. And so that just takes a second or two. And then once that is done exporting, you can click Download, and it should pop right up in a Excel format there for you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and head back to the main page here. You'll notice that at the top of the website, there are links to get to any of the pages that you see from the home page. If you click on the TIMS logo here, it'll take you right back to the home page. And also from any page within TIMS, there is a search by PID bar. So if you do know a project ID or a PID number and you want to go directly to that in the project search page, you can just type that in up here. Just going to type a random one in, click search, and it's going to build that filter automatically for me and show me all those records. There you are. Let me see if this one has some project plans associated with it. Nope. I wonder if something's not going on with this digital paper website. I apologize for that. All right, so back from the home page, I'm going to click on the Create a Map tool, and this brings me to the Create a Map page. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of TIMS. This is where you're going to come to build your maps, do some analysis, and see all the different data and layers that we have available in the TIMS site. So the first thing you'll notice is you have this big map page here. If you've used TIMS in the past, maybe 6 or 7 months ago, you might have noticed it had a different look and feel. You had to scroll up and down quite a bit. The map was not full screen. We've since redesigned the app, and I think it's a lot more user-friendly now, and hopefully it's a little easier for everybody to use. But the first thing you'll notice is this map here, and this is very similar to like a Google Maps or something that you're probably already familiar with. You can click and drag to move the map around. You can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And we also have some buttons up here that you can use to zoom in and out as well. If you don't like the underlying base map, so the map that you're seeing right now, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a Set Base Map tool that you can change that to some other some other styles of base maps, and we even have some imagery base maps as well for satellite imagery. These take a little bit longer to load. So it's going to default to this ODOT base map. Let's see if I can get one of those OSIPs to load. I apologize. I might not have the best connection in this room. All right. So I'm just going to come back to this ODOT base map at the default, and it will remember. The application is smart enough to remember what your preference is. So whatever base map you used last, it's going to go ahead and load that up on the next time you open up TIMS. So the next couple toolbars here is we have a results table down below. We don't currently have any results, but this is very similar look and feel to the project search. And when we do start to build queries and filters, that data is going to show up here in your results table. All of these tables and tools are customizable. You can make them as big or as small as you want, or you can even minimize it if you want a full page map there. So this pane on the left-hand side, this is where you're going to come to interact with your layers to enable tools that you're going to use within the TIMS app. And most of the functionality is available here on this left-hand side. When you first open up Create a Map, it's going to default to this Layers tool. This is the upper left-hand button on your toolbar. And what we have here in the Layers tool is just a few different layer groupings that you can toggle by clicking on that layer grouping. These are a bunch of different asset inventories, roadway information, project information. All the different data layers that we have available for TIMS are available to turn on and off here in the left-hand side when you have the Layers tool enabled. So I'm going to zoom out just a tad. So in order to enable a layer, you can just click on that layer and it'll turn green. And as I'm clicking, you can see that the data isn't turning on the map right away. Some layers do turn up right away if it makes sense for them to be displayed when you're zoomed that far out. But a lot of our layers have what we call a spatial query set on them, where the data is not going to actually show up until you zoom in a little closer in the map. So right now I just have the bridge and the PCR data, which is our pavement conditions. And if I start to zoom in on the map a little bit, once I get past a certain threshold, the data is going to start to appear. So also from this layers tool, if you have multiple layers turned on and you want to see what layer is what, if you want to see the legend, there's a legend tab that shows you. So the PCR, these are the different color meanings for the PCR data set. And if you have multiple layers turned on, you can see how each one is symbolized. So some of our layer groupings here, we have assets. These are a lot of our asset inventories here at ODOT. We do pull data from many different systems throughout ODOT, some of which are pulled nightly. So like our tier 1 assets like bridges, culverts, BMPs, guardrails, stuff like that. That data is pulled every single night into the TIMS application. Our project data is pulled every single night too. And then we have a lot of other data sets that might be pulled into TIMS on a weekly or monthly cycle. And we also have quite a few static data sets. So like a lot of our boundary data might be just somewhat static data that we don't update as often. So here's some boundary layers that you have to choose from. And you can turn on as many or as few layers as you want at any time here in TIMS. So environmental, we work with the Office of Environmental Services here at ODOT, and we have quite a few environmental layers. Projects, this is similar to the data that we just saw in the project search page, but we have a few predefined queries already built out. Roadway information, so we have a lot of roadway data here at ODOT. A lot of that can be found here under the roadway information tab. And then strategic transportation system. This is a strategic plan, a 40-year plan with some transportation assets throughout the state. And then we have some safety data. So these layers that you see here under the safety layer grouping, these are layers that we've made public. We've stripped away a lot of the sensitive information and shared these, and these are available to the public. There is another GCAT application within TIMS now that has more robust querying and filtering capabilities on a full crash data set that I'll show you in a minute. So once you have some layers turned on and you can view them on the map, you might want to get some more information about those layers. So the quickest and easiest way to get that information is up here on my toolbar. It's the Identify Features tool. So once I enable this tool, I can just click on my map here, and it's going to select all of the features that I clicked on. So from the bridge inventory here, I selected 2 different features, and I can toggle between them to get the actual feature that I was interested in clicking on. You can scroll down and see all of the different attributes. This is our largest data set here, the bridge data set. And there's lots of data here that you can scroll through. But you can also, if you click on multiple different layers, you can click the drop down here and choose the other layer that you happen to click on. So now I have enabled the PCR data that is also turned on the map, and I can toggle between PCR segments here. Now if I zoom out a little bit, say I want to start building some filters or some queries on some of this data. We have a few different querying tools that you can use up here under the filter data. So the filter data allows you to filter any data set that we have in TIMS by attributes, by geographic location, or by graphics that you can define yourself. So the filter by attribute allows you first have to select the layer that you want to filter from, and it's only showing the layers that I have turned on in my map. So if I want to select from the bridge inventory here, I could choose a couple fields. So I'm going to just say, okay, I want to select all the bridges that have the average annual daily traffic greater than, let's say, 100,000. And if I wanted to build this query, I could just search the entire data set and say, show me all the features where the AADT is greater than that number. Or I can add another filter here and maybe limit that to just a single county at a time. So I can start to type my county field. County is, and then I'm going to just do Franklin County here. Click search, and this is going to spin for a couple seconds. And when it's done building this query, it's going to spit out all the results down below in my results table. And you can also see highlighted, those are all the bridges that met my criteria that I just put in my filter by attributes. So if I make this table a little bigger, you can see that I have 225 results returned from that query. So this results table down here is very similar to the identified tool, but you can see it all in a tabular view, all the data, and you can scroll across. If you have any comments or questions on what does a certain field name mean, you can hover over this or click on this question mark right next to the field name, and it'll show you a definition for that particular field name. You can also sort the results table by clicking on any of the fields. You can sort ascending or descending. If you wanted to remove some records from the results table, you can click this X to remove them. Or you can zoom to individual records by clicking the Zoom to button. And you can see as I highlight these different records, the points on the map are highlighted as well. Now say this is great, all I wanted to do is just build a filter of the data, and then I want to export it and use it in Excel or use it in my own GIS system. Over on the right, you can click the export data and export that to, again, Excel, KMZ, a shapefile, or a geodatabase. And the amount of time it takes to build these filters, to run the filters and download the data is really all driven by the number of records that you're returning. So now I can click download, and it should open up right in Excel for me. There it is. So this is the same data that we just saw in the Create a Map. All right, so some other filters. You can filter by geography. I'm not going to run this one, but just so you get the idea, you can choose a county, an MPO, a district, or an urban area. And what that does is that actually builds a polygon around that area that you've selected. So this is ODOT District 4. And if I ran this, it would find all of those features that fell within that boundary. And then you can also filter by graphic. So this allows you to draw a graphic on the map and create a spatial filter off of that graphic that you drew. So just to highlight this, you can choose to draw a point, a line, or a polygon. So I'm going to draw a line here. You can click draw, and then you click to begin your drawing, and then you click at every vertex, and then you can double click to end your drawing. And then once you have your line drawn, I can add a buffer around that line. So let's say I want to buffer that line by 1 mile. I can choose my unit of measurement and click buffer, and that builds a buffer around that feature that I just drew. And so now I can search and get all of the records that fall within a certain buffer of the corridor or the point that I just drew. So this could be useful for doing like a crash analysis or something like that, or if you want to find all the assets within a certain distance from a project that you're working on. And so once you build all these filters, these different types of filters in the map, not only do they get returned in your results table, but if I come back to my layers tool, I have a new layer grouping turned on in my map, and these are my results layers. Now the application isn't smart enough to know exactly what filters were used, but it does say filter by attribute results or filter by graphic results, and you can turn those on and off just like any other layer in the application. All right, so a few other tools. Let me turn off some of these layers. Now, when I use maps, I like to just zoom in on locations and go right to the spot. But if you don't quite know where the spot is that you're looking for, we have a Find Locations tool here that allows you to search for locations based off of an address, a lat-long coordinate, a log point, or an area. So the address is very simple. It's just type an address, click Find, and that zooms right to that address. Lat-long is the same thing, except it's a lat-long decimal degree coordinates, or you can type it in degrees, minutes, seconds. Click Find, and it'll zoom and put a flag on that coordinate. Now you can also use the Click on Map tool to extract those coordinates. You can see as I click, it drops a new flag and gives me the new lat-long values here on the left-hand side. The Find Log Point, so many of our assets and many of our business processes here at ODOT revolve around a route ID and a log point value, or a milepost. So you can use the Find Log Point tool to click on a map and extract our route ID and then our county and state log for that particular route. I don't think we have enough time in this class to go over what exactly our route IDs are and how they work, but if you have questions, I can certainly follow up. If you want to search for a route, you can also use the drop downs here. Start typing, select your county, and once you have a county selected, under the Choose Route, all you're going to see are the different routes that are available to you in that particular county. So I could say Interstate 70. And then once I select a route, it tells me, okay, your minimum and your maximum values for this route in that county are these numbers. So I can type in a number that falls within that range, click Find, and it's going to drop a flag and zoom right to that route location. And then lastly, under the Find Locations is a Find Area tool. So this just allows you to zoom to a county, an MPO, a district, or an urban area. Pretty straightforward there. So moving down the line here on my tool set, there is another drop down called Tools. This gives me a few different tools that I can use. The Measure tool is useful to take measurements in the TIMS app. So you can measure an area, a distance, or a location. And by location, it's a state plane coordinate. So in order to do this, I can select miles, click Measure, and then start to draw on my map here. And then I can get the dynamic readout of that tool on my Measure tool over on the left-hand side. And if I wanted to change my unit of measurement, I can just change the unit of measurement, and you'll see that it'll change dynamically up in my distance readout. The next tool is this Draw tool. So this allows you to draw your own shapes and features on the map. We have a print functionality that I'll show you in a minute, but if you wanted to enhance your map at all by maybe drawing some points, lines, polygons, or text, you could use the Draw tool to draw some graphics to help enhance your map. Maybe you wanted to highlight a certain road or highlight an asset within your given map, and you can use this tool to do so. We have a bookmark tool. This is a useful tool if you are maybe working on the same project for a few weeks or a few months and you want to zoom directly to that project location. What this tool does is it remembers just the extent that you were when you added a bookmark. So I can add this Cincy bookmark here, click add, and then if I go away from that location, or if I come back into the TIMS app at another time, I can just zoom into my bookmark here, and it'll take me right back to the location where I created that bookmark. I'm going to delete that. And another tool that works very similar to that, let me turn on a couple layers here, is the share tool. So in the upper right-hand corner, I prefer this tool to the bookmark because you can actually turn layers on and off. And the share tool creates a URL that you can copy, and you can email it, text it to a friend. They can paste it in their browser, and it'll zoom right to that location, and it'll also turn on all the same layers that you had enabled. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and bookmark that URL and just click on that every time I wanted to go to TIMS. So back to the tools. A couple other tools that we've linked to. Now, we do not maintain these applications, but we thought they were useful, so we wanted to build links within TIMS. But the ODOT PathWeb tool. Now, if you use the ODOT PathWeb tool, you just click on the tool here, and then you'll see crosshairs show up on your map. You can then click on a road, and it'll take you to the PathWeb tool. Now, unfortunately, this PathWeb tool does not work in Google Chrome, which I'm currently using. But you can copy the URL and then paste it into Internet Explorer. And I think the PathWeb team is working on a solution to that. Hopefully, we'll have that very soon. But you can paste that URL. Or if you're using Internet Explorer, the link should work directly from the TIMS app. And this will bring you to the PathWeb portal. And what the PathWeb portal is, if you haven't used it, it's a video log essentially of the entire state. Oh, it did not find that route. Let me see if I can switch. So once it does find that location, you can view the images that were taken on the day that this road was driven by our PathWeb team, and they drive the entire state system on a 2-year cycle. So it looks like there was some construction going on here in Cincinnati when this was driven. But what I can do is I can click this play button down here and actually drive through just like I was driving on that day. And I can stop and pause it and maybe zoom into a certain sign and see exactly what the status of that roadway was on that given day. And this one was driven, it looks like June of 2015. So this road will probably be driven again, or it probably was already driven in 2017, and when that data is processed, it'll overwrite the 2015 data. So one other tool we have in our tool set here is this map channel tool. Again, we don't maintain or we haven't built this tool, but we've decided to link to it because it was a pretty handy tool. So you just click on the map again, and it brings you to this dual maps page that gives you just a couple different views of that area for which you clicked. So it's a pretty handy tool. Then the last part of create a map here is this add data to your map. So this allows you to actually add your own data to the map. So then you can view it in conjunction with the data that we already have in TIMS. So you can add a shapefile, a KMZ, an LRS, or some lat-long coordinates. We do have a functionality to add addresses, but I don't think that's working quite right at the moment, so I can't demo that for you. But if I wanted to add a shapefile, I could browse to my shapefile. Let's say scenic rivers. And this is a zipped shapefile. And the other add data tools take a spreadsheet as the input. And so this will take a couple seconds to load onto my map, but once it does, it'll show up in my map and I'll be able to use it just like any other layer in TIMS. And there it is. All right, and so lastly, over here in the upper right-hand side, there are a couple tools. There's a share tool that I already talked about. There's the set base maps that you can turn on different types of base maps here. I'm going to go back to the ODOT, and then there's the print map function. This allows you to print whatever is on your map screen to a certain predefined size. So once you click print map, it'll spin for a couple seconds, and then it should spit out a PDF of the map portion of Create a Map here. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the technology at this point to add the dynamic legends in here, but we're looking into that, and hopefully sometime in the future we will be able to add that. All right, so that is Create a Map. I do see that there's a couple notifications in here. Oh,
one of them
Amy asked, will it add a legend?
Yep.
So that particular map will not add a legend at this point, and we're hoping we can solve that in the future. All right, so that's Create a Map. I'm going to keep moving in order to preserve some time here, but if you have questions, feel free to type them into the GoToMeeting. So the next page that I want to talk about is the data download page. So this, if you want to grab data from ODOT, but maybe you don't have any need to use the tools that we have available in TIMS, our data download pre-packages all the data that we have in Create a Map. And you can click on the layers, one or many at a time, and click export and export to whatever data type you're looking for. And so this will, I hope I have enough space on my C drive. I'm running low. I'm going to cancel that. But anyway, so this will package the data into a zip drive, and then you can open it up as soon as that data is downloaded, and then you can use that on your own. Also, if there are any Power GIS users out there who consume REST URLs, let me know and I can provide you with the REST endpoints for our TIMS application. It's all 100% publicly available data. All right, so the next page is our standard PDF map page. So this page this one does have legends on it, but we only have a few different templates that you can choose from. So your map types you can choose from, it's mostly project driven. We do have a functional classification map here, but the rest of them are project related. But you can choose a map type. You can choose the area that you want to display, whether it's a city, county, MPO, district, or urban area. All right, that one's being slow today. And then you can choose the size and generate a PDF map of that particular map type for the area that you're interested in. Did I have another question on there? Nope. All right, so once the map generates, you click download. There it goes. And it will download a PDF of that map area. So this particular map was the annual construction work plan that I believe ends at the end of this month. All right, and then the next page here is our map viewer page. So each one of these buttons is a slightly different map viewer that takes you to a page that looks just like Create a Map, but it has different layers available to you. So for instance, let's say structures here. So this is a map. Instead of showing all of the bridges in the state of Ohio in one layer, what we've done in the structures map viewer is we've built out some queries of that same data set to make it a little more user-friendly. So this particular map viewer has different just buttons that you can push to show maybe you want to see the operating status of a certain bridge, or the structural deficient bridges, or the state-owned bridges. So we do have a few different predefined map viewers already built, but if anybody out there has ideas for other types of map viewers that would make your job easier, or that could be useful across the board, let us know. We're always looking for more ideas. And then lastly, the Data Glossary. So the Data Glossary is, we're trying to organize a robust set of data definitions for every single data set in TIMS. I think we have a pretty good start where we've been working very hard on it, but maybe not all of the definitions here are as robust as you might be looking for. So let us know if you have any questions about any of the data or any of the fields within TIMS. If you can't find what you're looking for here in the Data Glossary, let us know, and perhaps there's an opportunity for us to fix that up for you. Also here in the Data Glossary, you can search by different asset or layer that we have in TIMS, and it'll filter based off of that particular asset. We do have some links available here, so if you hover over the question mark, it'll tell you when the last time that particular data set was updated in TIMS. And then if we do have a hyperlink, you can click on that hyperlink and it'll take you to wherever that destination is. All right, so back to the TIMS homepage. The newest addition to the TIMS site is this Crash Data Search page. There is actually a dedicated webinar just to the Crash Data Search page, and some of you who might be GCAT users are already familiar with this. But this replaces the former GCAT system, the GIS Crash Analysis Tool. So when you click on Crash Data Search, it brings you to the splash page here. You can get some information about trainings. You can actually sign up to get a username. This is a secured site, so this portion of it is secured, I mean. So you do need a username to access the GCAT tool. But once you have that username, you can click the login button. It already recognized my credentials, but if you are an outside user, it'll ask you to input those credentials. And this will bring you to the Crash Data Search page. So it looks kind of similar to what we've seen throughout the app, but this allows you to build a query and filter of our Crash database. It looks like we have data all the way back to 2007. You can choose the year. You can choose one or multiple years. If you want a month, you can choose a month here. And then you can further build that query based off of some crash details, crash severity or crash type. If you know the document number or there are multiple document numbers that you're searching for, you can type those in here. And then some other qualifiers is an emphasis area. You can select one or many emphasis areas. Driver vehicle, so what type of unit, was there traffic control involved? What other circumstances? You can type in one or many here. And then lastly is the location. So you probably want to use a location because we have millions of records in this database. And if you don't define a location, you're going to get more data than you might know what to do with. And actually the application will only handle 105,000 records at a time. So if I don't input a crash location here, it's probably not going to return any results because it'll be too large. So I can choose a crash location. I can choose the county. So I can choose Franklin County. And you can also add a route too. So if I'm only interested in a certain route, I can search for that route. And you can even define a segment along that route. So if I wanted to use within Franklin County, oh, come on. Let's say 270 here. I could type in a road segment between 1 and milepost 20, add the section, and so now it's only going to return results that fall within that segment of road. So once I have my filter built, you can either view it in map or you can download the data directly to a CSV file. So I'm going to click view in map. It's going to spin for a second and build that data set for me. And then that's how many records I've returned with that particular query. So 68,000 records. If I'm happy with that, I can say, okay, yep, I want to view it in the map. And then it'll zoom. I'm going to help it a little bit, but it'll zoom to those crash locations. And the more records you return, the longer it's going to take to render those. And I think what I might have done is actually filtered, yep, so I filtered on all the records that fall within Franklin County. If I remove that county qualifier, it would show me just the crashes that fall on that one route that I'd find. So once you have all the data displayed in your map, there's a lot of data right now. You can use this filter crash events graphic to build a more precise query. Maybe you want to do an intersection analysis or a corridor analysis. You can draw one or many features here. I can draw a point. I can define a buffer if I wanted to for that point. Click draw, and it'll draw those features on the map. And you can draw multiple features on the map. So let's say this one I want to only do 500 feet. Click draw. And then search, and it's going to search those shapes and return just the crashes that fall within those shapes. I swear it's typically faster than this. I think my Wi-Fi connection is not the greatest right now. So what I'm going to do is I have a link to a webinar for the GCAT tool that I am going to copy and paste into the GoToMeeting. So if you're interested, I'm not sure if they have any upcoming webinars, but if you're interested, you can at least watch the one that they've already given by using that YouTube link there that I just pasted in there. So it looks like this is still spinning away. There we go. So this returned 900 records here. And so what I can do now is I can either do some more analysis in the TIMS app using all those tools available, or I can just export that data directly to an Excel spreadsheet. And if you are a GCAT user and you use the what they call the CAM tool, that is also available to download here in the crash analysis page. So with that, I've already pasted the link to that webinar. We do have a couple of in-person classroom trainings that essentially go over the same stuff we talked about here today, but it's hands-on, and I walk you through all the functionalities and show you how to use all the tools and what data we have. We have a couple upcoming to end out the year. We have one in-class training in Bowling Green, District 2. That's on October 18th. And then one here in Central Office in Columbus on December 13th. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this PDF into the GoToMeeting as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to open it up for questions, Victoria. Does anybody have any questions? You can either unmute your phone or type them into the chat.
And I'll go through and unmute everybody too. It can get really noisy if you guys have a lot of background noise going on, but feel free to ask questions if you've got them. This is your chance while you've got Stephen on the phone. I think this is the best TIMS webinar we've had yet. Thank you for all the data that you've provided. It's been great.
Thanks, Victoria. I'm going to go ahead and type my email address in here too.
I have attempted to record the webinar, and if it's successful, I'll send a link out to everybody later today. Hopefully it won't give me any glitches when I hit the convert button when we're finished. So.
Perfect. Now, haven't had too many questions, but if anybody does have anything that comes up, feel free to email me or go ahead and email that contact on the TIMS site.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your attendance today. We appreciate it, and look for future emails for future webinars that Stephen will be providing on the TIMS program. Take care.
Thanks a lot.